Welcome back to Longbox Diving, where we explore comics and story arcs pulled from the Longbox, and we're doing another story arc review, and we're going to actually cover X-Men Legacy story arc. The story arc is called Fables of the Reconstruction, and it's actually only 2 issues, Fables of the Reconstruction, and it's going to cover an issue X-Men Legacy 242 and X-Men Legacy 243. Again, the covers on these are just awesome. Francis Yu, by Lineal Yu as the cover art. So the writer again is Mike Carey, penciled and drawn by Paul Davidson, colored by Brian Reber, and Lineal Yu did the covers, and the covers look great. So this is basically we're kind of carrying on some of the subplot that's happened in previous story arcs about a guy named Hellion, or as we would call, or Julian, his name is. So Julian had lost his hands, right, and he's having to wear these metal gloves and stuff, and he's trying to get help, and or metal arms, and they're trying to help him recover his hands. He's not having it. He is just in a state of, like, I can't take this anymore. I want my hands back. I'm not 100% sure how he lost his hands, but he doesn't have them. Now, Hellion, I believe, has telekinesis, the ability to control to atomic level, so he's actually really pretty powerful. And then, we get some, normal stuff going on at the Utopia. We get some baseball stuff. We get some talking with Hope and Colossus and all that kind of fun stuff. So basically, there's a team that wants to go into San Francisco and help them rebuild, because there's been a lot of bad stuff that's happening in San Francisco now, and it's destroying the city. So they, as a team, want to go in and help rebuild San Francisco. So we have Random, looks like he's going. We've got Colossus, Magneto, Rogue, Karima, which is, I guess, an Omega Sentinel. We have Hope, Danger, the Danger Room AI, and of course Julian is there. And they go into the city, and they're starting to rebuild. They're doing their thing. All the beams are going everywhere, and and Hope is actually saying, what, I'm going to work without my power. So she's not using her power at all. She's just digging holes. It's the X-Men, but yet only some of them are using their powers. And you can tell Julian is still just really kind of pissed off. He's just angry, an angry young man. Nothing's making, he's just like, angry, right? Anything's going to set this dude off. And then all of a sudden, Karima is like, I can't control my AI. It's starting to target people, and she's going to have a problem. And so she ends up just shooting Colossus. Right? She goes, run. And she ends up shooting Colossus. She tries to go help him, and she's like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know why this is going on. And then we flip over and we have this little girl talking to Hope. Hope's like, she's like, don't you have powers? I have powers. Why aren't you using your powers? All that fun stuff. And I'd rather just work. Well, we have Julian here just kind of destroying things, right? He is just, he's angry. He's blowing things up. He almost hurts this little girl. Hope kind of starts to get onto him. And then we have, Random there with Danger. And, then we just see back to Karima. And Karima starts, as she's looking at the X-Men, her teammates, right? She's seeing Magneto, and she sees danger level. And then she looks over at Peter Rasputin, Colossus, danger level. She looks over at Psylocke, and she sees danger level. And she looks at Hope and Julian, highest threat. And she just flies in out of nowhere and clocks Julian, Hellion. And then she points her fist right at Hope. And the last panel we get is this. Look at that. And now Hope is protecting the girl, and Kareem just shoots this laser right at her. So overall, the art in this one is okay. There isn't a lot of splash pages, and some of it's pretty much flat angles. You can see there's some flat angles here. We do get some changes in angles and stuff like that, but again, a lot of it is just straight on flat angles. I mean, the art's decent. It's just, not my favorite. Too much flat angles, too much straight on looks. There is some that's different, but it's varied and it's not often. Not a lot of splash pages, only a couple splash pages through there. So the art's okay. And then we go into the second issue of this arc. X-Men Legacy 243. And, you know, again, it's just kind of Julian talking to Cyclops, reviewing what's happening. And he talks about what happens when Karima points her weapon at Hope and the little girl, and she fires. Julian actually sees the shooting. So we got this, right? And it goes through and explains, not too much talking, which is good, that he sees the laser and he's able to move it in a way that passes through the molecules, in between where the molecules are there of the little girl and Hope. So which is really kind of cool. So, and then he reverses it and sends it right back at Karima, and you can see it right there, right? And it shoots. So she ends up shooting herself because he pulls it through and then back through their molecule on a molecular level. I mean, that is really cool use of powers. I haven't seen anybody else actually use it like that. And then, then we get this huge fight scene, and they're literally destroying everything they tried to build that day. Karima is like taking out Random. She takes out Magneto. She takes out Danger. She takes out Psylocke. She takes out Colossus. She is just taking out everybody. And of course, Hope's just kind of running around saving people. Now, Hope can take up anybody's powers that are around her, but instead, what she's more focused on is rescuing individual people, while everybody else is getting their butts handed to them by Karima, this Omega Sentinel. And then we finally get where everybody's like down, and she's going after Hope again, and that's when Julian steps in, and Julian just beats the tar out of her. I mean, it got to the point that Colossus called it excessive. When the mutant, the main big bad mutant guy that beats everybody later, it hasn't happened yet, says that's excessive. It's probably pretty much excessive. So you see her there. She is just, he beat her down. He won. He knocked her arm off and all that kind of fun stuff. So basically, he's yelling at Cyclops. It's not fair. I'm angry and I don't have my hands, and I just did what I had to do to save everybody, which he did. And then Bro goes in here and says, I'm the ultimate sanction, Sugar. You know what you can do to you, and how and I hope I'll do it. Rather than lose another friend to you, another X-Men, I'll shut you down at the source. Pull out your powers by the root and burn them into a big old bonfire. You used up your Hail Mary out there. Better learn some other prayers, or find some other friends. So they're coming down hard on this guy. He saves their lives. Yes, he did some little excessive because he's not controlling himself, but why not teach him control and instead of just threatening him? That made no sense to me. And I wonder why this guy's a loner, and I wonder why whatever happens in the future happens. They kind of they're not really helping this dude that much, in my opinion. And so you see some of the other younger mutants, and they don't want nothing to do with him. He's like, I want nothing to do with them either, and they kind of go on their way. So we have, that is basically the whole story of Fables of Reconstruction. Now, the covers, again, there's the first one, is U covers, and there's the second one. Look at the covers are awesome. Okay, the covers are great. The story, I would give about a 3. I mean, it had some action, it had a lot of fighting, it had some good stuff in there, and some development for Julian Hellion. So that was really great. The art, on the other hand, I would put about a 2.5. There is some really funky stuff like that. I mean, look at Rogue. It looks weird. And again, a lot of straight angles. We just straight on face, straight on talking, straight on in the fight scenes. There's only a few that are a little bit different, but it's not many. And so I don't particularly care for that kind of art. And the art's a little bit subpar, in my opinion. So yeah, 2 on that. So overall, we're at about a 3 when you take into the great covers, pulls the bad interior art up. But overall, it was an okay story. I mean, it was a good story for Hellion and building Hellion up. I don't like how it's handled. I don't necessarily agree with the outcome of it, but it was a good story. So that is our review of the story arc, Fables of Reconstruction, and X-Men Legacy 242 and 243. So hopefully we'll see you here next time in the Long Box.